Here's Brody Brazil.
So look, I fully realize these are busy times both in life and in sport. Like, there is a lot going on these days. But I also feel like there's something that almost everybody is sleeping on right now. They're not even talking about this. It's a huge deal. It's been going on for more than a decade, and it could be resolved literally this weekend, literally tomorrow. Could Barry Bonds be elected into baseball's Hall of Fame? There is a way in. Believe it or not, after he was turned down 10 different years in a row by the baseball writers and their votes, there is a way in for Barry actually tomorrow. And that way in is through the Contemporary Baseball Era Players Committee. Again, this is not the front door into Cooperstown like a lot of players get and take. That would be the election through the Baseball Writers Association of America. They have a qualifying process, and those writers choose who gets in the hall every year. But now there's also this separate committee, which is made up of 16 different members. They are former managers, umpires, executives, and players who have been retired for 15 or more seasons out of baseball. Which is interesting, right? Because these individuals might be people who saw and experienced Barry firsthand. They competed with or against him and this other group, which I'm about to share with you. So they know him best. They should make a most responsible decision. And quite honestly, I'm a person who works in the media. No disrespect to the baseball writers, but they've really held a tight gate. And they've been the ultimate gatekeepers for who gets into Cooperstown all these years. I'm happy this committee exists. I'm happy that the writers are not the only way in. This is kind of a fail-safe. If this committee thinks there are other people worthy, like Barry Bonds, they will get him in. So of the 16 members, what type of vote do you need? Well, the answer is 75%. So Barry's name needs to appear on 12 different ballots to be officially elected. Now, let's clear up the confusion here. Elected means you're going into the Hall of Fame. Inducted means like next summer, July 23rd, 2023. That's when you would get inducted. But the election is literally tomorrow, this weekend. 75%. Will 12 of 16 of these voting members from this committee, will they put Barry Bonds' name on the list? Barry's not the only name. There are 8 players on this ballot. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Albert Belle, Don Mattingly, Fred McGriff. How is Fred McGriff not already in the Hall of Fame? And again, this is kind of a security and backup process. Like, how did that happen that he slipped through the cracks? Will this committee put the crime dog in there? Quite honestly, with all of the controversy surrounding some of these names and speculation of steroids and cheating, Fred McGriff is one of the honest names that people think will get in. He's one of the front runners on this list. But there's also Dale Murphy, Rafael Palmeiro, and Curt Schilling. 8 players on this ballot. Which one of them might take this side door into Cooperstown? And specifically for Bonds and Clemens and Schilling, they all 3 respectively missed out on their 10th and final year of the baseball writers' voting process, meaning that the baseball writers had 10 chances, and that's how they limit players. 10 years, and if you don't get in, you don't get in with them. So Barry will never be elected through the writers. This now is his only way in. But you can kind of see here over the years how the writers voted. 2013, his first year of eligibility, only 36.2% of the vote. It went actually down a little bit to 34, but then it went up 36, 44, 53, 56, 59, 60, 61, and 2022, this year, 66% votes. He needed 75 to get in with the writers. You see that trend? You see how it worked over 10 years? And that makes me wonder if this committee will look at prior voting and say, you know what, the writers over time, the people who wanted him out the most, greatly changed their mind, or they doubled their percentage of votes in just 10 years. Would it be the wrongest thing, the most wrong thing, to elect Barry looking at these trends? He simply ran out of time. 10 years is a lot of time, but you can see how this opinion changed. So, again, this is the situation for Barry. Never got in with the baseball writers' vote. Will this committee be the ones to ultimately give him the approval? Was Barry worthy of it? I mean, these are his career stats, all-time records for home runs, walks, intentional walks. I understand the stats are different from the allegations. I've got some thoughts on that in just a second, but put the numbers up on your screen here and soak all this in. Single season records for home runs, walks, on base percentage, slugging, and OPS. All those things have still stood from his time. And granted, you can say what you want about what helped him, how he got these numbers. He has these numbers from a time where what can you prove, right or wrong? From Barry, from the people who are pitching to him, from the fielders who were playing against him, to the person in the lineup ahead of him or behind him. We isolate on him as one individual. This was a widespread problem for baseball over multiple decades. So let me just, on a personal note, give you my top issues with all of this. What are we going to do as far as the Hall of Fame and Cooperstown with players like Barry? And he's one of many in this example. Are we just going to ignore the entire era of baseball? Sure, it should come with a story. And sure, it should come with some, but are you going to tuck it away and pretend that it didn't even exist? You're going to wipe out those video clips. You're going to never share them. How are you going to share them and then say, yeah, but he's not here? Are you also going to have some really weird inductions where there are players who were not accused of anything ever, but they also weren't the best players of that era? You're going to bring them in the hall and say, hey, here's somebody we think did it right. Yeah, but are they a Hall of Famer? Or are you just, you're dry on inductees and people to elect because you're scared of some people? Again, how is Cooperstown going to do this? Where to draw the lines? Can we just look at somebody and say, oh, they took steroids, they cheated? Do you know that? For sure, one way or the other. And again, we mostly talk about hitters in the steroid era. How about pitchers? And how about ultimately this? Did any kind of steroid ever help any hitter in Major League Baseball put the bat on the ball? It might have kept these individuals healthier. It might have helped them avoid injuries on a regular basis, but did it actually help a bat make contact with the ball and drive it to the outfield or drive it over the fence? Maybe it helped the baseball go a little bit further. Are we talking 5 feet, 50 feet? Be realistic here. It's not a lot. Where do we draw the lines on this? And last but not least, point the finger at Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa all you want. Baseball allowed this to happen. Was baseball not up to speed on all of this for all those years and basically a decade from the late 90s to the mid-2000s? Were they not paying attention to this? Did they not know this was going on? This was happening right under their watch. So to not look back at the commissioner of baseball during that time or any of the executives of Major League Baseball during that time, why didn't you stop this? Why didn't you instantly crack down on this? Now we're going to let it, be dirty laundry years later and let baseball completely off the hook. So those are my feelings. Those are my takes. Quite honestly, I hold the opinion that Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame. And the writers might have had a personal vendetta against him forget performance or steroids, but just personality. I think that's a large part of why he never got in with the 10 years of their voting. But we're past that. They have no choice anymore. They said no. You see their numbers. You see their vote go up. This is the way in for Barry Bonds. And to be perfectly clear, if it is a measure of his peers voting him in, decades down the road, that's what we'll look back on. What was most important are the people that went up against him, the people that understood him best. They either voted him in or out, and not just the gatekeepers of the baseball writers. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below.